Guys, there's a little bit of a pandemic we need to address. A little bit of a pandemic, okay? Not a real one. Don't want to get flagged for misinformation or anything like that. I don't want to be told I'm spreading wrong info, fake news or anything like that. Let's just pretend it's real for the sake of this video. A real pandemic in the music industry, okay? And that is sampling. I don't know where we got to. How did we end up here? I don't know how we ended up here. We have ended up in a place where sampling is looked on now in a negative way. We look at it and frown at it. We go, ugh. We go, why? We go, not this again. But before, it was exciting. Before, it was creative. Before, it was done in a tasteful way. Not all the time. It isn't a completely new thing. I do need to make that point as well. But at the moment, in this world of the TikTok era, we've taken it too far. And I considered doing like a full video on this, to be honest with you. But then I thought, nah, you know what? I'm going to flip the script. Instead of whining and moaning about how bad sampling is at the moment, why don't we spin it and talk about how sampling can be done in a really good way and can enhance the original song and sometimes even improve on it, rather than the schlock, the piss, the poop that we're seeing at the moment, where we're literally just nostalgia baiting. We're literally just picking a song from the past, has a familiarity to it, has a recognizability to it. Everyone knows it. Oh, do you remember that song? Oh, they're doing that on this song. Oh, no way. And somehow we're seeing a lot of bloody success from it. Like, we're not seeing this go away anytime soon. And even up until, as of recording today, looking at the charts, there are like a handful of songs, particularly in the UK charts right now, that are still using this formula and still using old songs as a way to kind of bait people into listening to the new song. And at the end of the day, look, if you like it, you enjoy it, I don't want to hate on you as a person, but I'm just saying sampling is much better than this. It's an art, it's a craft, it's a beautiful thing, and when it's done well, it's like one of the most satisfying things as a music listener to pick out these samples, because it is so fun. Instead though, we've got heaps and heaps of poop that's just ruining the original song in a really annoying way. Pitbull's album at the end of last year did very well to escape a lot of worst lists, by the way. I don't know how Pitbull managed that. Maybe people just didn't bother listening to it. It commercially absolutely flopped. But I'll tell you right now, that was a terrible album and one of the worst of last year. As was Coil Rays, which had a bunch of awfully incorporated samples, which did get panned by critics. So that one didn't quite avoid the chop as much as Pitbull did. But then you've also got the new Jason Derulo album, which has Spicy Margarita on it with Michael Bublé, which is as cringe as it sounds, but again, uses a familiar old sample in a really poor way. David Guetta had multiple songs recently that got Grammy nominated. They're getting vindication by being nominated at like the highest awards of the music world. And they're also topping the charts. So this is why they're continuing putting these out, because they're going, well, people clearly like it, so let's do more of it. You've got that new Ella Henderson song with Rudimental, which samples Pastime Paradise or Gangster's Paradise by Coolio, whichever one it samples, who knows, it's both anyway, really. Again, in a really lazy way, it's boring. You've got that new Kygo song with Ava Max, which samples Whenever, Wherever, Whenever by Shakira. You know the friggin' song, whichever way around it is. Oh my God, Central C. Why does he keep doing it, man? He's just watering down drill as well. You've got friggin' that Bittersweet Symphony song that was in the charts for a bit too, which samples obviously Bittersweet Symphony in a terrible way. But again, people seem to like these things. Maybe I'm just the guy that's yelling at the cloud and being the only person that doesn't like it. I don't friggin' know. I feel like I'm not on my own with this though. There's so much crap out there. So, before I rant even further, let's basically unload the premise of this video. I'm going to give you 5 examples of how sampling can be done well. Okay, that's pretty much the premise of the video. despite the fact that I just ranted for God knows how long, that is the actual premise of this video. But I wanted to address the point of why I wanted to do this video though, because I do think we're hitting a point now where a lot of people are just going, sampling is bad, sampling is bad, sampling is bad. But it's not, it can be done really well. So I'm going to give you 5 of how you can enhance or even improve on the original song in a really creative and fun way. That is the premise of this video. Now I do want to say, this is going to be a one-off video for now, but if people like it and want to see more, I could do a series of this where I keep giving you 5 different examples. So let me know if you enjoy this at the end and you want to see more of this, because I think it could be a fun little series. Some of these you'll know, some of these are pretty famous, some of these are pretty obvious, some of these are less obvious and a bit more obscure. So let's get on with it. I'm going to start with a really obvious one. Genius of Love, Becoming Fantasy by Mariah Carey. For me, this has got to be like top 3 Mariah Carey songs ever. I actually think this song is held up ridiculously well, and I think the wonderful execution of taking that sample and speeding it up, turning it into a really, really catchy melody in the way that they did is, dare I say, genius. Because Genius of Love already is a completely insular, in its own world type of song. Like, there isn't really anything that you can point to that will ever remind you of what they crafted with Genius of Love. It's such an intriguing, weird experience, and it's an incredibly beautiful song in a weird way as well. I mean, some of the lyrics are bizarre, but that melody is so beautifully arranged that it just sticks in your head for the eternity, essentially. And to flip that and turn it into a completely upbeat, banging pop song with some incredible vocals, some incredible passion and fire coming out of Mariah Carey's voice. Some of the best vocal performances she's ever laid down, I would say, come from this song. It's so good. It is really well done, and to hear it again in a popular song too. This was one of the biggest songs of the year it came out, and it doesn't sound annoying, it doesn't sound baity, it doesn't sound lazy, it doesn't sound tacky. That's the word I think we could use for a lot of the samples I mentioned as examples before. They're super tacky. Mariah Carey made this one mega tasteful. It's great.
And I wonder if you know, I've been waiting on this my whole life.
Next, we've got the amazing My Song from Labi Siffre, Becoming I Wonder by Kanye West. Now, believe it or not, contrary to what you might see these days, Kanye West back in the day was an amazing producer who came up with some amazing ideas. Don't know where the hell that's gone, but anyway, Kanye West really came through with a really clever sample here, because the way that the vocals of Labi Siffre kind of become like really ponderous and really thoughtful with the way he goes, and I wonder, and that becoming like the main refrain of this song from Kanye is really cleverly and expertly done, to the point where I still think this could be up there with one of Kanye's best songs. It's really hard to rank a lot of Kanye songs because there's so many good ones, particularly when you go back to like the first 5-6 album run that he went on. But yeah, I still think I Wonder stands the test of time, and that vocal charm, the boyish whimperishness of Labi Siffre coming through, not in a harsh way, I don't mean that in a nasty way, but it really rings and it really lingers in such a stunning way. I mean, like I say, this is another example of how the original song is amazing on its own, and then you can take that song and make an amazing song. Both these songs are probably equally as good if we're being honest, but yeah, still an excellently crafted sample here. Next, we've got one that if you mention it to people, they often go, oh my God, I didn't know that. I didn't hear that one. I didn't know that. But yeah, it is in fact Tainted Love, Becoming SOS by Rihanna, which to me, I can hear it. I think it's pretty obvious. But yeah, maybe it's a bit less obvious than your obvious sample usage, where it's not quite as chopped, or it's maybe a bit more in your face, because this one is a bit more muted or maybe a bit more manipulated to become something different. But yeah, anyway, regardless of how they did it, this is insanely good, man. This for me is up there again, like Mariah Carey, with like top 5, top 3 maybe Rihanna songs, because god damn, they absolutely nailed it with this one. And again, to take Tainted Love, which is already an iconic song, I mean, that was already like a massive song before, you know, probably the biggest song on this whole list when you talk about the original samples. It's bigger than Genius of Love, it's bigger than Labi Siffre's My Song, like massive song. Everyone knows Tainted Love, it's an 80s classic, and to risk that and make it become something else, and it pay off, is pretty impressive. Again, if you saw this today, it would sound tacky, it would sound half-assed, and it would still probably top the charts and be a massive song just like SOS was, but still it wouldn't sound anywhere near as good. But this has really stood the test of time. I actually think this is one of the best pop songs generally of the 2000s. Like I say, one of the Rihanna's best, and so brave as well to take Tainted Love, the melody, really spin it upside down on its head for something totally different. Yeah, Rihanna and the team killed it. Going into more obscure territory next, as we have Injury Reserve with Yo, taken from What You See Is What You Get by the Dramatics. And for me, Parker Corey is one of the unsung heroes of the 2010s and beyond in the world of hip-hop producers, because he never gets mentioned in those kinds of conversations, but he absolutely is up there with one of the best for me because of that run that Injury Reserve went on, the brilliance of all those albums and mixtapes, the quality of the music, and how creative so many of the samples and beats were. And this is a brilliant example of that, and it's probably one of the most accessible beats and samples that you'd find in the entire Injury Reserve catalogue, to be honest with you. It is just so classic and funky and soulful in a way that I think a lot of old heads and a lot of classic hip-hop fans would enjoy. I mean, you can't really hear this sample and not at least think, you know, Kanye would have done this back in the day, who's already been mentioned in this video, but he absolutely would have, to be honest with you. This kind of sample is brilliant. But yeah, taking just that snippet of the da-da-da-da and then completely looping it and making it this huge, maximalist, grandiose, larger-than-life instrumental, and then you got Richie and Groggs absolutely rapping their booties off on this beat and instrumental. Yeah, absolutely amazing. I can't believe this isn't talked about more. Like I say, it just sounds like a classic hip-hop beat that you would hear way more people talking about. But, you know, Injury Reserve never really kind of made it that big, so I guess it makes sense. But for me, it's amazing. And my fifth and final pick, my fifth pick of today, is technically a cheat because this is an interpolation, okay? Don't boo me, don't shout at me, don't throw the fruit and vegetables and all that rubbish. Don't. Just calm down, guys. Calm down, it's okay. I'm going to be a little lenient here. I'm going to, you know, interpolation, sample. Yeah, they're different, but let's just, for the sake of this video, let's just be lenient. Let's just have a bit of fun, okay? They're not miles apart. They are still taking ideas from a previous song. I get the difference. Don't worry. Don't need to shout at me. But for the sake of this video, I wanted to include the Gap Band's Outstanding, Becoming, 911, Mr. Lonely from Tyler Creator's Flower Boy, which, again, similar to Kanye West, Tyler Creator has a vision and an ear that isn't really like anyone else. And when they are on their A game, they come through with just incredible ideas. And I think this is a really good example of that, because the structuring of Mr. Lonely is like so different from Outstanding, but yet that one snippet, that one section, that one chorus is so pivotal to the song, and interpolating Outstanding, which is already an amazing melody in its own right, was just a clever idea. Of course, you got the beat switch coming on later on, but yeah, that chorus, really catchy, one of Tyler's most iconic and recognizable choruses as well, if you think about it, really, considering how, acclaimed Flower Boy is at this point, I do think this is up there with one of his most iconic sounding tracks. And of course it came from the Gap Band, which is pretty cool. And we're going to leave it there. I've given you 5 that I think are excellent usages, excellent examples of how sampling can be done so brilliantly well. Of course, at the beginning of the video, I did preface this all with how we got to this point. I did want to talk about samples that have done really well, just for the fact that nowadays we're seeing a lot of backlash towards samples, and we're seeing rightful backlash really, because a lot of the stuff that's just getting, viral on TikTok just for the sake of baiting people through nostalgia and all that kind of stuff, and because it's easy and because it's simple and it's because you don't have to come up with anything totally new. It's just a way into making it onto the charts because people go, oh, I remember that song. Well, let's remember there are many, many, many examples of how sampling can be done so geniusly, if that's even a word. So there you go. Please, of course, comment if you want to see more of these. I can make this an entire series. I'm sure this could go on forever because sampling is just a huge, wide, vast thing now. And there's so many examples of them. But these are 5 that I wanted to go for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Share it around too. Let me know your favorite samples and they could be included in future videos. We shall see. Subscribe. Check out my Patreon as well if you want to support me over on there. Would be wonderful. And goodbye. Subscribe. Have a good day.